Hey guys, this is Tuesday's video. We did not have a video on Monday, so if you can't find one, that's why. Today in this video, we're going to talk about the free write assignment. It's a little bit different than what you've been doing. Then we're going to move on to a little bit more information about citations. Some of you are still having trouble with that. Also with passive and active voice. The introductions for the stakeholder papers. I've already sent back your writing response 8, but in case you need some more instruction, we'll talk about that, and then thesis statements. So for the first thing, free writes. Let's go ahead and open up today's free write, which is the 26th. And it says here, instead of doing a free write today, complete the integrating sources activity. The link is right here. You just click on it and it'll open up a new window, or it'll download it and you go to your download folder. And it's 3 questions. I want you to fill out these 3 questions to help you include research more correctly in your papers. So there are 3 steps to citing or integrating sources in your papers. Most of you are doing the second step correctly, minus the in-text citation, but really there needs to be a lot more polishing for your drafts. The main reason why is if there is no in-text citation specifically, that is plagiarism. We've talked about this before. You watched the tutorial. It's also on the syllabus. So make sure you introduce your source. What I mean by that is these templates here. We need to know where this information is coming from at the beginning of the source. So before you actually quote something, I should know who is saying it and why they're important. There are several different templates, and I've put them already up online, and these are in previous videos, but you may have forgotten. So we need to have someone saying something down here according to the person or the publishing house or whatever. Just whatever's the most useful information for the reader to know, according to the author from this place, basically why they're important or why they have an authority on what your topic is. Then you have the quote or the paraphrase or the summary here. And again, if it is a direct quote or uses any of the words from that person, you must put them in quotation marks and then have an in-text citation. The third step, so this is steps 1, 2, 3. The third step is explaining how that material or how that quote is important to your argument or your overall understanding of a topic. Another way to look at it is this section here in introducing quotations. I use this one a lot because students seem to understand it more. According to X, where X is the author or like the New York Times, normally they're going to have authors, but in case they don't, you look for author, then editor, then the article title, then the journal itself when you are in text citing. So whatever's the most useful here to put, if you don't have an author or an editor, then you move next to, like, say, the New York Times or the Washington Post or a published journal, okay? Then you have the quote, and you would ideally have a citation, and the period would follow after the in-text citation. Again, the in-text citation for MLA 8th edition is the author's last name and a page number if you have a page number, okay? So there are a lot of ways to do this. There are templates here in X's view. X agrees when she writes this. This is the most academic, I would say. You see this a lot, but if you want to get creative or you don't know how else to phrase it, there are templates here. Use these, okay? I should not be seeing these errors in the very last week of this course, as I have reminded you guys in person in your own assignments and also in your free writes and now in more than one video, okay? So that deals with citations and your integrating sources activity, all right? So go ahead and fill this out, and then as the free write says, you will submit it back with this journal, or you will just email it to me in case something weird happens with eCampus. So you would do the activity, and then you would link it here or just hit browse my computer, okay? And then it is again private. I can only see it and you can only see it, so your peers, it's not a peer review. All right. The next thing is passive and active voice. So we have already talked about this, but I'm seeing it so much in so many of your papers that we need to talk about it again. So active voice is what you guys should be writing in. Again, active voice, stick to that. Passive voice, although in your head it might sound more, quote, Englishy or academic, it's more convoluted and it's just not as clear, okay? So we already looked at this PDF and this is online, but let's take another example and see if active and passive voice is something that you guys can kind of wrap your heads around better. So the problem was solved. Let's take that, number 6. The first question would be, is it active or passive voice? Well, how I normally approach this is I look for the verb. So, was solved. Okay, that's our verb. Then I think, okay, who or what is doing the verb? So the problem was solved. Okay, who solved the problem? Well, we don't know. Okay, we don't know. So in this case, it would be passive voice because the subject of the sentence is problem. The subject is not doing the action. So in passive voice, the subject of the sentence is not doing the action. It's like some force off the page. Or you normally see the phrase by, and then the phrase, the thing that follows by is normally the thing that's doing the action. But again, that's not the subject of the sentence. So a way to make this clearer and more humanities-based. A lot of scientific writing has passive voice, and I think that's why you guys are so trained to write in passive voice. But for a humanities paper, all of English 101 and all of English 102, and any like higher level English things that you may have to take, we will encourage, and if not require, you to write in active voice. So you have to identify the verb and then identify the subject or just propose a subject. Was solved. So scientists, or maybe I'll have to look into it a little bit more. These are your own papers, so you guys will know who is doing the solving, who's doing whatever verb that you are writing. All right, you are the people who are writing these sentences in passive voice, so you can change them more easily. So I'll just say like the team solved the problem. That would be active voice. So the team solved the problem. The reason why it would be active voice here, just to give you guys a visual. I identify the verb yet again, solved, and then I say, okay, who or what is doing the solving? The team is. Okay, is this the subject of the sentence? Team, subject, verb, object. Yes. So this is active voice and this is correct. Okay? It might take you guys a little while to get the hang of it, but take like one paragraph of your own writing, especially if I've marked it. And because normally if you're doing it one time, it's becoming a habit and it's difficult to read. Also, start reading your sentences out loud to proofread your work, because the writing response aids, which I've just graded and returned to you guys, I often read them out loud, and that helps me catch a lot of the errors, and I know that if you guys read them out loud, you would catch a lot of the errors as well, okay? Especially, you'll understand this active-passive struggle when you read them out loud and you think, that doesn't sound like a native English speaker, or that doesn't sound like something I would just say out loud, and that's how you can tell. Okay. So we talked about templates, we talked about free writes, active passive voice, and we talked about how the three steps to integrating your sources. So I'm going to take this paper here. It's the second sample stakeholder paper, and we're going to look at the introduction. It's not a stellar introduction, but it's definitely among the stronger ones of the batch. And then we're going to look at the thesis statement. And some of you don't have thesis statements yet. That's fine, because writing response 8 was just a draft. Some of you don't even have introductions yet. That's also fine. But obviously for the final draft that you'll turn in this Friday, you need to have all of that stuff. So In a world full of smartphones, interactive video games, and many more technological advances, it is growing harder and harder to form a relationship with another person through human interaction. So this I would actually just recommend for the student to cut, because this is obvious. And then the quote is actually more, the quote offers more than this generalized statement here. So Huxley, a prominent English author, writer, and philosopher, was quoted saying, and I would just cut that out as well. He said, technological process has merely provided us with more efficient means for going backwards. All right, citation here. So again, I'm doing the same thing that I do to all of your papers. I'm just going along and I would be highlighting these and track changing everything, and then I would send it back to you. But so this isn't perfect, but it is a very strong paper, and that's why it's a good example, especially the thesis statement. As the technology of today becomes more advanced, humans are losing their ability to speak and to interact with other people, and that's one of the main reasons why computers should never replace humans as the teachers that sculpt the minds of tomorrow. So as you can see, I'm like a little winded even reading this sentence out loud, so I would just break it up into 2 sentences. All right. Young students are easily impressionable, and having a human teacher, so it needs to be a comma here, that's a run-on sentence, and you could see like the pausing. So again, all of this reading out loud just to emphasize that point. Young students are easily impressionable, and having a human teacher as a guide to tell them what is right and what is wrong is the only way to possibly ensure that they receive the proper schooling that they need. So I would just cut this out. You don't break up an infinitive phrase with an adverb or any word. Although today's society is moving faster than ever toward a life encompassed by technology, young students and children still gain more through the experience of learning from a human teacher than a computer teacher. All right, so this is the true strength of this paragraph. The reason so, and the thing that you guys should consider when you start writing your thesis statements or when you're polishing them, is they need to be an argument. You are persuading an audience in this paper. That's the main thing. You're establishing your ethos by saying, yes, I've done my homework on the opposition. I've done my homework on what already exists in terms of who I may already agree with. That's the quote, my team people. And I have a certain authority on this because of some life experience. And again, that's here. My team, opposition, personal stake. These can go in whatever order. And so, because of all these 3 things, I'm claiming this side. All right? So you probably, in your thesis statement, should make it clear what the 2 sides are, if there are 2. Again, the sides are the stakeholders, and what position you are going to argue in the paper. So again, thesis statements are spoilers. We should know up front what the author is going to say in the paper. There's not a lot of curiosity with thesis statements, but that's good, because if you are reading a ton of articles or papers or whatever for research, you want to get to the point, right? You want to know what the author is going to argue. It's not like reading a novel where there's suspense and build up and there's a different technique like the narrative paper. A thesis statement should be clear and formalized at the very front of the entire paper. So today's society is moving faster than ever toward a life encompassed by technology. So this kind of encapsulates what he just said. Young students and children still gain more through the experience of learning from a human teacher rather than a computer teacher. So here are the 2 sides, I would say. And then obviously he's arguing for a human teacher over a computer teacher. All right. And then I would recommend all of you to include subheadings in your papers from the writing response 8. It seems like either the ideas are not developed as a whole, or there aren't just strong topic sentences yet. So like the other sample papers that have subheadings, it's just much clearer what you're arguing, what section you're arguing. You can go back and really look at those sample papers and kind of dissect each, not only the opposition's argument, but different arguments within the opposition's argument. So that's what really produce a top-notch paper, and not just having kind of the bare bones of a stakeholder paper. All right, so keep the questions coming. No writing responses this week, just writing response 9 you turned in yesterday, and look for a video for Wednesday.